Hi everyone, it's your girl 𝕚𝕚, and the topic of today is psychics are useless on this journey. Now, that is basically only half true, just because on this journey, like I've said in pretty much every video, this is all about self-discovery. This is all about, getting in alignment with self, clearing old trauma, healing generational trauma, whatever it is that is you're meant to experience on this path. So certain things that have worked for me may not work for you, and certain things that work for you may not work for me. And that's why I said in one of my videos that, really use other people's videos on twin flames, other people's advice on this journey as more of a guide and not gospel truth. So this is going to be kind of like an information video / story time, because I try to incorporate other people's stories that I've spoken to, or my own story, into my videos, so you can kind of basically to show that, I'm not just going by myself, by my own experience. I'm also going by what I've read about other people's stories or other people that I've spoken to on this journey. And for me, I definitely, this all started more than 10 years ago when I first heard about twin flames. And back then, I can't really say that I fully believed in them, and I can't really say that I did. But I went to a psychic at one time, and this was at a really dark time in my life. Psychics are kind of my kryptonite, I'm going to be honest. I love going to psychics, the real ones, the genuine ones. And I found this one, and she was a good reader, especially because she told me things about myself that no one would know. And I know people like to argue and say, oh, well, they could have seen it on Facebook. They could have seen it on social media. These were all things that you wouldn't find on social media. It was just personal things that I was going through at that particular time that were really out there. And she saw through it. She told me, and she's like, you need to stop doing this, you need to do that. And she described who she believed was my twin flame, or who would be my twin flame in the future. Now, the person that she described was not a generic, tall, dark, and handsome type person. She described what they looked like, and they had very unique type of features. And lo and behold, a few years later, I did meet that person. Now, when I started talking to that person, it was really great chemistry. It was one of those people that, similar to the twin flame, where the conversation just flowed. We could talk for hours on end. And it was, it felt like we'd met before, even though we hadn't. Now, there was no kundalini, there was no opening of heart chakra, there was no opening of sacral. But the odd thing I noticed about that particular time versus when I actually found my twin flame was that I seriously thought this was my twin flame, just because of, like I said, the psychic, how they described him. We had a lot of really weird things in common. Some websites claim you'll have a lot of weird things in common, which is true, but it's hard to describe in that there was still, it wasn't the super spiritual fireworks that you get with the twin flame. I did see repeating numbers. We did go through a couple separations. I felt the whole chaser-runner dynamic, but it wasn't like the twin flame where I say it's more metaphorical. It was more physical. It was just, back and forth, ghosting back and forth. It just wasn't a healthy relationship. And as time went on, once I actually found my twin flame, I was like, okay, that was wrong. But the funny thing was that during that whole ordeal with that karmic was I ended up going to a tarot reader, and I saw her shuffle the cards. I saw all of it, and she actually pulled the twin flame card, and she's like, oh, look, this is your twin flame. So I was like, okay, that just confirms it, which is not confirmation that they are your twin flame, right? You're a manifester, you're a spiritual person, you can manifest these things happening, and it doesn't mean that they are your twin flame, right? If you're looking for signs, you're going to find signs, especially on this journey. So that's why I say really try to avoid that if you can, because the times where I did receive messages from my genuine twin flame were when I was not asking about them at all. I would just say, look, I just want a message from my higher self. And funny enough, it was usually from, I have close friends that read tarot. I have close friends that use psychic divination tools, and they are amazing. They're probably watching right now. Hi. And I remember I went to one, and I was like, okay, just give me a message from higher self. And it literally laid out the whole dynamic of my twin flame and I, what we experienced, I can't remember what the soulmate or Prince Charming card is. I think it's the Knight of Cups. And then all the cards after were like basically like, okay, there's going to be a lot of it basically spelled out the kundalini that I experienced. It explained the whole big separation that we've had, but then it said at the end that things would be wonderful. And I knew that was because I had a lot that I needed to heal in order to get to that. It had nothing to do with union. It didn't say anything about union. It just said everything about inner peace. And that's exactly what I will always believe that this twin flame journey is about. So when it comes to psychics and, trying to find answers, I completely understand that. There's no shame in that. If you've done it, don't feel bad. That's definitely something that I went through, because I'd say when I actually found my real twin flame, I was more in doubt versus when I found the false twin flame. I guess that's what they call the false twin flame. Just because it was so surreal. It was so over the top, like just the anxiety I had when the chakra started opening, the kundalini, just the purging of old emotions. Like, it was just so over the top for me that I was just like, what is happening? There's no way that somebody could trigger this in me, especially because, I've been on this journey for a long time. So it just seemed too over the top for me. So when it comes to psychics, this is what I say. If you really feel pulled to go to a psychic, I highly recommend that you ask for messages from higher self. Ask for things that you need to know in order to help you get more in alignment with yourself. Because if you go looking for messages from my twin flame, what are they thinking? What do they want to say to me? If you really tap into your divine, if you really tap into yourself, you'll know what the messages are. Here's the funny thing that happened. I remember once I went to a good friend of mine who reads, and I was like, okay, what is my divine masculine doing? And they're like, and they literally described the same thing that I was doing. Like, exactly. So, I don't want to say that just because that happened to me, that's your divine, like, it's different for everybody. Everybody's situation is different. But I really want people to find their own answers and find their own path, because I noticed that when it came to tarot reads, it really went in circles. Like, you hear what you want to hear to some degree. You get what you want to get, or you get messages that you want a lot of the time, right? So I find with this message, or with the whole psychics and twin flames, is to really move away from that, especially with the pick a cards online. A lot of people become addicted to that. They're like, oh, look at this person has another pick a card. Oh, they said my twin's astrological sign. They said how they look and that they're thinking about me and they're going to come. You need to relax, because you're putting it out there. You're putting that expectation out there. And that's what I say that you need to step away from. You need to turn that more inward. You need to figure out, okay, what is it that's making me feel so abandoned and alone? Because what every channel says, the twin flame is you. You can't miss yourself. There's something within you that is feeling abandoned, that is feeling depressed, that is feeling sad. I know on my journey, I was meant to incorporate creativity back into my life. And I noticed a big shift when I did that. That's why I kind of push that, especially if you're the divine feminine, you really probably need to get in touch with the sacral and really get into creative energy again and really pushing that. Because more often than not, especially with the divine feminines on this journey, is you feel stagnant, you feel stuck, you feel lost. And whenever I think about that, I always think about, okay, there's definitely issues with the sacral, because water flows, and that's the thing that really helps you move through life and attract more abundance. Let go, not be so aggressive and expecting to stay in control of certain situations. Obviously, like I said, this all has to do with the first three chakras. The divine feminine has to master the first three chakras, and I will always believe that it's the sacral chakra that the divine masculine, or that the divine feminine really needs to get in touch with and really embrace that creativity, embrace that sexual energy, that feminine energy. I'll definitely do more videos on that for sure. But yeah, this video is just about going to psychics and how it is more damaging than not. And, not to knock psychics out there. I hope nobody's watching this thinking that, I'm talking smack about you, because I'm really not. I really want to push people to find their own answers and go within, because I guaranteed if you're a genuine twin flame, you've had an increase in psychic dreams, in premonitions, in clairvoyancy, like whatever it is that the universe has gifted you, it's time to tap into that. It truly is. And yeah, you have my sympathy if you're feeling that anxiety and just wanting to go to a reader. I know that feeling. But it's when you really get in touch with that sacral, of letting go and letting things happen the way they're meant to, that's when you kind of just stop and you're like, I don't really care about pick a cards anymore. I don't really care about tarot readings anymore. I don't really care about the future anymore. I just want to make my present better. I want to have better relationships with the people that are in my life now, who I know love me and who I genuinely love. So it's just about that. And I know a lot of these videos is me repeating the same thing, so I try to mix it up. So today I added the whole psychics and how they can be a blessing, but they can also be a curse, because let's be real, this universe is not dumb. And if it were just that easy to just go to psychics and find all the answers, wouldn't we all be doing that? You know, so also just be careful of people in the psychic community. I'll probably do a video on this as well, of people that take advantage of people that are really hurting and need that guidance, because I've had people try to come after me with that, where they're like, oh, you know, there's something dark around you. You need to give me all this money. If you don't give me this money, your life is going to fall apart. Like, thankfully, I didn't fall for that trap, because by then I'd been into the spiritual community for a while. But some people do fall victim to that and do lose a lot of money, and it can really destroy their life. So just be aware of that. If you're really vulnerable, that's probably the last time that you know, going to a psychic is the last thing you need to do at that point. So I think that's it for this video. I love you guys so much. Take care.